Hey y'all, welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Colton, here with Brandon. A lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. First things first, more Springfest. Back on June the 12th, there were a couple of tournaments. We are recording this, unfortunately, before the Mexico tournament on the 19th, because we won't be able to record next week because of work commitments. So, unfortunately, no Mexico update here. We'll talk about that next time. But BSF on June 12th, there were a couple of tournaments, one in Bilbao, Spain, one in Houston, Texas. The Spain regional only had 8 teams, so they only cut to top 4. Bang Dream, Quintuplets MTI, Hololive, Kaguya Bang Dream Ruby, and Hololive MTI Fate. And then in Houston, very busy regional, a lot of really, really good teams there. Hololive Bang Dream MTI takes first, Bang Dream MTI Hololive second, Slime MTI Hololive third, Slime Hololive Ruby in fourth. And all through the top 8, we see 7 Hololives and 6 MTIs. We joked going into New Jersey that the meta for the rest of regionals was going to be nothing but MTI Hololive in third lane. Here we are.
Mm-hmm. And we did an update of that in our last Clock Talk with the Pittsburgh guys, so if you haven't seen that, check that out.
Link in the description.
But as we look at these results here, as much as, like you said, we joked that it would be Hololive, MTI, and X, it is. Looking at the data sets for this that we saw, or that's been collected, the percentage of teams for the sets they've been available to be present at, Mushoku and Hololive in top 8 with those representations.
Yeah, once again, all this data coming from Taya over at Weiss Tea Time. Thank you so much, Taya, for compiling all of this. We are showing Hololive's percentage as a percentage of teams in the events where it was available. Same with MTI and Ruby, because they were unavailable in Hungary. So we've edited the table to show that. But yeah, out of the 12 teams that topped in Spain and Houston, only one of them did not have Hololive or MTI in it. And it was the team that finished third in Spain. There's so much Hololive running around and so much MTI. And honestly, it's good that Hololive is as good as it is, I think. Just because it's something that isn't standby, that is good, right? That is, actually like in the top 2 decks in the meta. Like you can make an argument that Rushia is the best deck in Weiss right now. That's an argument you can make. And it's not a bad argument. So, Hololive being good, Bang Dream being good, like these are really important decks for the health of this meta, which has been so dominated by standby. And we're going to get more standby coming forward, right? There's more standby coming out this summer. But it looks like maybe Bushiroad has started to figure out how to print some stuff that isn't standby that is playable. The meta is still more standby than not at the top tables. But it's a lot closer than it was before the Hololive release.
It is definitely a lot of Hololive right away, especially after just being released and just being available for Hololive to have such dominance. We kind of expected that. Like, we expected Hololive to have quite a bit of showing because we expected it to be popular, and that's what we're seeing.
So moving on from that, we recorded the rest of this episode once. That was 2 days ago. We were trying to get this done in advance because Brandon has work stuff next week, so we were trying to get this recorded as quickly as possible. Of course, the day after we record all that, Bushiroad drops just an absurd amount of news on us. So let's go through all the news that we were going to already talk about on this episode, as well as the stuff that Bushiroad just announced. And we will start with Worlds. It's official. We are getting a true singles tour this year. We will have a whole singles tour in the fall with Worlds in January. Our first in-person Worlds in 3 years will happen. There will also be a corresponding shop challenge where players can earn buy slips so they can get wins at singles regionals events for doing well at shop challenges. The old system is back.
Yeah, top 8 mats for singles are back again as well. So everything that you expected a singles a regional to have is appearing to come back. Actually, really excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, basically, like, we know that it's happening. We don't have cities, we don't have venues, we don't have any of that stuff. We do know that the singles season will start in August. They've said it's August through January, but that's it. That's all we know. Point is, it's happening. We will have a schedule. We will have a season.
And actually, even in the midst of that, during the month of August, we also are getting Rumble Online. So we're getting another online event, kind of the same thing as has happened before, the same thing that they did with the Rumble last year. Again, we have another date. This is August 20th through the 21st, where they're going to have, again, the 3 regions to be able to compete for promo cards. Especially with it happening in August, it's going to be happening right about that same time as singles, so getting everybody a chance to be able to play online. Even for those that don't have a regionals that they can attend this.
Yeah, and obviously, we've talked at length about how important it is to have online events, and it gives people who do not have access to an in-person event actual opportunity to play in a high-level event. It will be August 20th and 21st, so once again, the last weekend of Rumble will be Weiss weekend. The only thing that I wish we had with this was I wish that this was also at the same level as a regional tournament. It will presumably, unless they change something, not be. So if you win a Rumble event, you will not immediately get the World's invite that you would get if you won a singles event. So it's not, unfortunately, at the same level as regionals, which I think is kind of a bummer just for folks who, live in parts of the world or, don't have the means to get to an in-person major. So that's a shame, but it is what it is. The fact that we have Rumble at all is a good thing. Bushiroad said, hey, this is a valuable enough event for us to keep it. So they are going to keep it, which is, I think, a win for everyone. A full fall schedule awaits us. Winners of regional championships go on to Worlds, with the folks who finish second and third getting a non-sponsored invitation to Worlds. So if you go second or third at a regional in person, you will have the opportunity to compete at Worlds, but you'll have to pay your own way. Anyone who has not been playing as competitively these last couple of years because there haven't been these serious events, we're going to see all of them once again. So, there's so much more that we have to talk about, so we're going to move on. Anime Expo. Bushiroad will be at Anime Expo in Los Angeles from July 1st through the 4th. On July 3rd, they will be hosting a panel where they will talk about, quote, news from your favorite titles, end quote. Normally, this is the part where we would just go into speculation, but we actually probably know what these announcements are going to be because they have announced more sets for English. In addition to the Saikano announcement a couple weeks ago, Hololive Premium is officially coming to English, and it will be distributed at Anime Expo starting July 1st and will be legal for play starting July 1st. So, if you live in LA, if you live out in that direction, or if you just want to go, you can go pick up Hololive Premium on July 1st and literally get it and play it first the day you get it. Hololive Premium will get a normal release for the regular people on September 30th. But what that does mean is that Hololive Premium, which is Neo Standard Legal with the Hololive stuff we already have, will be playable from July 1st through September 30th after having only been available at Anime Expo. That seems to be what's going on. There may be additional caveats that they have not said anything about, but as of right now, that's the way that it looks, which frankly kind of sucks.
The delayed release of HoloLED, the premium booster, is really interesting because they specifically say that you can use it for tournament play. Specifically, even the regional championship series singles immediately following its release in July, where only a handful of people are actually going to have it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because for Swingfest, they had the 2-week delay after an official release to be able to play in the decks itself. The exception being the premium booster. So how this affects Hololive and how people play Hololive and what they bring remains to be seen. I recognize in itself that the premium booster doesn't have any like additional climax combos. It doesn't change the decks all that much, but the fact that it can change some of the tech cards, it definitely makes it more difficult when you're trying to lock in a deck for the said tournaments. If it's anything like Springfest where you had to lock in your decks ahead of the tournament itself, it makes it harder to do without having the cards readily available.
Yeah, there aren't a ton of profiles that are probably going to make their way into the meta list. Like you said, like those meta shells are pretty well defined between Rushia and Marin. But there are definitely playable cards in Booster, right? There is the Subaru Anti-Runner Stock Bomb. There's another Aqua Ricky, but it's yellow instead of blue. There's a Drop Searcher with Pay to Bounce tacked onto it. So, like, there are playable profiles. There's a Red Brainstormer that says that one of your characters can't be reversed until the end of your opponent's next turn. Like, there are tech pieces in Premium that are definitely playable. I don't know how many of these will actually make their way into decks. This is probably not going to be a huge deal. But the fact that this is happening is kind of on principle scummy. Like, oh, only the people who, happened to be able to get to Anime Expo, are able to play these cards legally for a full 3 months, July, August, September, before the rest of the player base gets them. And that honestly kind of sucks. Like, you're kind of creating a class divide between the haves and the have-nots for Hololive players. One of the core values of our channel is access, right? Like, that's something that we're very concerned about, is people being able to play the game. And this is like such a bad thing for access. I'm hoping there's pushback. I'm hoping that there are people who don't like it and say so quite loudly so that Bushiroad doesn't try to do this again. Because can you imagine a world where exclusive profiles are only available at single events in limited quantity that basically either won't be available on the secondary market or will be exorbitantly expensive on the secondary market? Like, that's just asking for scalpers. It's asking for a lot of frustration. Especially, can you imagine if they printed like a really good profile this way? As is, probably shouldn't affect too many things, but on principle, this sucks, and hopefully they don't do this again. That being said, also at Anime Expo, they will be distributing a pair of promos. One of which is a vanilla from Attack on Titan. It does not have the core trait, which is the main trait from set 1 and set 2 AOT, the stuff that, the Eren and the Armin and the Mikasa stuff were all on. So, worth noting, because we didn't really know what kind of traits AOT was going to get. We know that the trial deck cards didn't have it, but we also knew there were some promo cards that did have it. So it looks like, potentially, AOT might be functionally trait locked. Set 3, that is. So, again, we don't know, but this could tell us that AOT is going to be trait locked.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good assumption at this point based off what we're seeing here. Between the trial deck and this, it's a pretty good assumption at this point.
Also, at Anime Expo, we are going to get a promo card for Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. An English card, legal to play, in English. This is not a set announcement. All it is one promo card. That's all we know. This is a card that was printed in the JP set. It's a card that instead of having the anime or manga logo in the corner, has the video game logo in the corner, as it did in JP. That video game was published by Bushiroad in English. Again, this is the only card we're getting. It's Choice Climax. This could be the first card of an English Dragon Maid set. It could also be a one-off promo that does not necessarily indicate the coming of a set. Bushiroad has never quite done this before. They have printed a couple of one-off English cards, but they were English language cards that were only legal for play in JP. They were for Little Busters and Da Capo. So we've never seen, as far as I can tell, an English legal card that is by itself. They have not announced any additional legalities for this card, so it's possible that this card is technically legal in all sets in the same way that the Shioko promos are. The Shioko promos probably being the closest parallel to what we currently see as of right now. So based on all of this, based on what we see strictly from this card, it's up in the air. Who knows? Based on what we see strictly from this card and this announcement, there's no way to tell if we're getting this as a set or not. Based on other factors, it just makes the waters more muddy. The manga is the primary source for the art in the JP set. As of right now, it does not seem that Bushiroad has acquired that license, which is, I believe, from 7 Seas. They do have the license for the video game. So they could, in theory, print the Kobayashi set as essentially a set for the video game, which they have the rights to, presumably, because they are the publisher of that video game. So that's a possibility. They could also potentially get the manga license. They could also potentially get the anime license and reprint the same effects on different art. They could print something completely different, the same way they did with Cardcaptor Sakura, just like same set, same title, but completely different cards. That doesn't seem super likely, considering that this card, again, is a JP card, and it has the video game logo on it in JP. But it's worth noting. As of right now, I am leaning towards we're not getting this. I hope so much that I am wrong. I want reasons to believe. I have wanted this set for literal years. Before it was a glimmer in JP's eye, I wanted this in English. And right now we have one card. Bushiroad, again, has never done anything like this before. This could just be a massive tease. The Twitter account is being very coy on this. A lot of people are celebrating that, oh, Kobayashi's coming to English. We don't know that. We don't know that. This is not a set confirmation. So a lot of stuff still up in the air on this. Hopefully, at Anime Expo, we will get more information. But as of right now, this is what we know.
You're right. We do not know for sure. I tend to lead towards the other way. I think that we are going to be getting it because of seeing the PR here. I tend to think that release here is a symbol of things to come, in part because of what you mentioned earlier, that they have a panel at Anime Expo where they're going to potentially be talking about upcoming titles for Weiss. It makes sense to be able to announce a title there. They've announced titles there before. We got an English original announcement from Anime Expo last year. So having another title announcement there, I think makes a lot of sense. However, now that we see the Dragon Maid card attached with Anime Expo, I would not be surprised to hear them announce Dragon Maid as the title they're going to announce there. That is where I lean on this, in part just because it makes the most sense regarding what titles they would announce. Because essentially they already announced the premium booster at this point, which would have also made sense to announce there. So by announcing it now, they're kind of shortchanging themselves to announce later.
It's big announcement. It's we already know because you literally told us. Yeah, and when I say I don't think we're getting it, I'm 60-40 on this. Like, it's real close. So I wouldn't be like stunned if we got it. I would be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong on this. And again, I desperately hope that I am. I've been wrong before. But again, like you said, I think that Anime Expo is going to tell us a lot. If we get it, I think it's going to be at Anime Expo. Like, I think they will announce it there. I would be even more surprised if they announced it sometime in the future post Expo. So if we don't get it at Anime Expo, I think we're likely not getting it. At that point, it goes from like, maybe, maybe not to probably not. It's a popular set. There's demand for it. Lots of people were very excited to see this. Not just me. So there's a lot of reason for Bushiroad to print this, but again, it comes down to licensing. It comes down to all the things that make a set happen or not happen. Before all of these announcements happened, there was a JP product stream. They announced a few things. We need to talk about them. Thing one, new sets. They announced, several sets with release dates, etc. in JP. Obviously, because we're English focused, we're going to focus on the stuff that's important for English. There are 3 sets that we can immediately identify as, very possible for English. One is Overlord 2. I think we're both in agreement. This is almost definitely coming over, especially because they reprinted Overlord 1. That will probably drop sometime in 2023. I think that we're both pretty expectant on this one. It's like almost guaranteed it's coming to English. Sword Art Online 10th Anniversary Anime Edition. This is an interesting one. We usually don't get the anniversary set. Sword Art has a 10th anniversary set already. This is a different set with different cards, presumably. But it's anime focused. We tend to get the anime stuff. I think we're probably going to get this one, but still unknown. Less likely than Overlord 2, but definitely still in the somewhat likely territory. The final thing is D4DJ. It's a Bushiroad property. They own it. It's pretty popular. There are definitely people in English who would play it. It would be a pretty easy thing for them to port over. So maybe we get D4DJ as well. But those are the 3 sets that I think you and I are in agreement on are the most likely candidates to go from JP to English that were announced at this most recent stream.
Yes, that is where we are in agreement. So that those are the 3 that we expect. We expect those to essentially kind of be, again, mid 2023, with some of the sequel sets that we expect to come out being like DAL 2 and Kaguya 2 beginning of 2023.
So that's the first thing that was announced at the JP stream. The second thing that was announced at the JP stream, the JP ban list. Usually we don't pay too much attention to the JP ban list. However, for the first time, Mushoku Tensei got hit in JP, which means that Bushiroad is likely considering the same kind of changes to the English ban list at some point. The ban list is a choose one of 2 restriction between the pay for ditch 1 tap counter and the 2/2 Ghislaine standby target. So definitely trying to hit 8 standby Mushoku. It seems likely that this will happen in English at some point. The question is when. I think you and I are in agreement that it's probably not going to happen right away. They let DAL run for an entire year plus before they messed with it. They let MTI run for a year in JP before this ban list. I don't anticipate this before singles, but now that singles are on the calendar, it's very possible that sometime during the singles season, Mushoku Tensei gets hit. I don't think it happens this season. I think they let Mushoku Tensei go all the way through Worlds, give it a full year in the meta, but there's a possibility that a ban comes down sometime during 2022 that affects the singles/Worlds meta.
There is absolutely no way that they will ban mid-season. Bushiroad will put out an emergency ban if they, like a set that gets released that is game-breaking in a way that they didn't expect it to be. They will put out an emergency ban. They have not, even in the JP side, emergency banned a deck that has already been out for a season already, mid-season. They'll usually wait till an end of season and do the ban list that way.
Yeah, we did a whole show talking about whether or not MTI should be banned, and you and I are both in agreement that honestly it doesn't make sense to touch MTI, especially given all the stuff that's coming out that we already know is happening, like before singles.
We also rehashed this with the Pittsburgh guys in our previous Clock Talk.
Yeah, so plenty of conversation we've already done on this. We don't want it to get banned necessarily, but it's a thing that may happen sometime in the future in English because it has now officially happened in JP, something we will keep an eye on, but we don't necessarily expect in 2022. Finally, somehow, the biggest announcement potentially of all of this news dump. It's the last thing we're going to talk about today. Weiss Schwarz Blau, or Weiss Schwarz Blue, is a brand new card game, or at least it's being advertised as a brand new card game, announced at the JP stream by Bushiroad as a special 15th anniversary project for Weiss, a new character card game production. On July 14th, they will have a 100 participant event where they will presumably unveil this game. The card backs are different. They have shown us a couple of climax cards from the game. So we know that this is like not playable with our regular Weiss that we know and love, or at least play and tolerate. We will know more in July. It's an in-person event in Japan. We've no idea if this is coming to English at all. Who knows? Like, so many unknowns with this. There's been some speculation that this game is basically like a Blitz or condensed version of Weiss, perhaps with simpler mechanics and a shorter game time. We've seen that before. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has something like that. Flesh and Blood has something like that. So it wouldn't necessarily be surprising. That's something that has shown up more in like the card game space in general. That seems to be the most likely scenario. The art style seems to be pretty unique. It's like this very blue-white, like gem-like kind of aesthetic. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on what this might be?
I tend to kind of go along the lines that it's probably a speed version of Weiss. That Blue is essentially designed for that more it's going to be designed for that more casual gameplay. I wouldn't be surprised if this actually does make its way into English as side games. For example, like at the tournaments.
Yeah, also worth noting that we don't have any title announcements for this, so I think it makes sense that this could be all like internal Bushiroad properties.
It is worth noting that the one climax card that was kind of like came out through a CD does have the set code Eve, which there isn't a Weiss property with Eve as of set code. So definitely something to keep an eye on as to what that could look like, especially since it came out with a CD. I also wouldn't be surprised if this was a more band-centric idea for Speed Weiss as opposed to full anime.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there's definitely some potential there. But yeah, Weiss Schwarz Blue will come in July to JP. And as of right now, we don't know, but it's possible that we get Blue in English. We'll see. But July is going to be a wild month that is going to tell us a ton about the future, both near and long term, for Weiss Schwarz in English. So we will talk about more of these things, I am sure, next time at our next Clock Talk in 2 weeks, which will be after Expo. So we will have the Expo update. Hopefully there will be enough of an update to, actually talk about from Anime Expo. On July 5th will be our show in 2 weeks. On Thursday, we will finish up 5 Cards 5 Minutes for Fate Grand Order. Brandon will have his Camelot deck. Next Tuesday, we'll have gameplay for that a week from Thursday. And again, in 2 weeks, hopefully more news and updates regarding Anime Expo on our next Clock Talk. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
We'll see you then.